This is hard rock, if anyone wants to know. I feel like I need to get to a loop here, but it ain't going to give its own, so.
You're good.
All right, on today's Farm for Fun show, we head north to visit a Canadian neighbor of ours. He's a farmer, a trucker, a comedian, a speaker, a social media star where he brings over 67,000 followers on TikTok, 22,000 followers on Instagram, 108 subs on YouTube, over 45,000 on Twitter. He's a good old Saskatchewan boy with probably the best name I've ever heard. Please welcome Mr. Quick Dick McDick.
Oh, buddy.
Gentlemen, you should maybe alternate as a rodeo announcer or something. He's bucking out of a chute there, man.
That's the thing. You just want to run through a brick wall, and it's all downhill from there.
You got it. You got
So,
it.
Mr. Quick Dick McDick, the real name of Dixon Delorme?
Can you say that?
Can I say that?
You were close, man. Yeah, you almost got her there.
If this was a girl guest, they wouldn't let you say their real name.
Yeah. Well, can we say your real name?
Well, it's probably too late, but yeah, I really. if people want to find me, I don't think my real name is going to get in the way of them doing that. So,
If I found it, somebody else can find it. Yes.
Foam
Yeah,
Lake, Saskatchewan,
absolutely.
not by Saskatoon.
Yeah, so actually, about 3 hours straight east of Saskatoon, like on the Yellowhead Highway kind of thing. Yeah. So you guys obviously even know where the Yellowhead Highway is. That's
Oh,
where
yeah,
we're
it's
at.
just down the road.
Oh, yeah.
I've been up to Regina. We're good.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. About an hour away from the Manitoba border, just kind of right in the middle of nowhere. It's a great place.
So, Corey gave a little bit of an introduction, but who is Mr. McDick?
It doesn't exist actually. The Mister that's for my old man, I think. But no, geez, this is kind of a character. Quick Dick is a guy. He's kind of a pissed off electric Saskatchewan farmer that's always got a lot of opinions about the government and fossil fuels and a few other things. But then we switch gears lots, and we'll just talk about funny things that go on in rural Saskatchewan. Well, basically rural anywhere, I guess. And,
Right.
And sometimes we'll talk about mental health. Sometimes we'll do kids videos. Sometimes we'll do musical numbers. I don't know. Yeah, he's just a guy, I think, that had too much time on his hands for a little while, and all of a sudden a bunch of people started watching him, and it's kind of turned into this now, I guess. Yeah, it's crazy.
Go behind it. Into the plug behind it.
All right, hold on.
Sorry, we're just studio stuff.
Oh, that's all good. Yeah.
So
you guys are playing with a very fancy mixer board there. I don't know. I usually just deal with the phone, but
Took a while.
So, you are obviously involved in agriculture.
yeah. So part of a 4,000 acre grain farm, 350 commercial cow calf operation. Primary owner of its name's Mark Rogers. He's been at it for quite a few years. I went to school with Mark way back in the day, and I worked oil and gas in northern Alberta. I grew up on a PFRA community pasture being a little cowboy. And then I went and worked oil and gas in northern Alberta for about 19 years and came back home here around 3.5 years ago and just kind of ran across Mark. I came home and decided to get back into farming, and I'd always been in on the cattle side of it, and Mark is in on the grain side of it, so I kind of started getting familiar with that. And what do you know, we here we are, almost 4 years later, just giving her hell, trying to make it go. But
So you said PFRA pasture. What's that mean?
So it's PFRA is the Prairie Farm Rehabilitation Act. It's from the 30s actually. It's in Canada here. It's from the 30s, and it's the federal government actually took over had a whole bunch of crown land that they wound up fencing and offering drought relief for guys that needed to graze cattle. And it just turned into a regular thing. Turned into, I don't know, probably in the States you guys would call them like community leases, probably is what they'd be called down there. But basically it's just a great big co-op where a bunch of people bring their cattle to graze on crown land, and they shut it down here a couple of years ago, and a lot of the patrons have just taken it over as a partnership now. But back in the day, it was a federal government program. Yeah, so it was basically it was a great big huge cattle pasture that was funded by the federal government, and my dad managed it, and I was just the manager's kid, and I got to ride horses all summer. It was awesome.
Would that be like BLM ground?
Yeah, I think it would be the equivalent here in the U.S. And we're probably wrong.
Bureau of Land Management.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice. So what drew you away from the oil and gas fields? Because you said you spent quite a bit of time there.
Yeah, I did. Well, I guess first of all, what drew me to the oil and gas industry was a paycheck. It was this really neat thing that you could get that other people would give you if you worked for them. And realized my dad been fucking me around for years. Free labor, right? But yeah, so I went and kind of in a roundabout way. I just went and started doing that because there was no job. Like there's not a pile of jobs around home here, kind of thing, right? Being in the middle of Saskatchewan, summer's always super busy because I mean everybody and everything needs help driving tractors and combines and all that good stuff. But then when you get into the wintertime, I mean there's just kind of doing chores and then it's pretty slow until you start calving, right? So. Yeah, I just went out and kind of fell in love with the oil and gas industry and started learning a bunch of stuff. And you get some pretty cool paychecks. And I stayed in cattle with my dad for a while, but I wouldn't come back home. I'd just kind of send him paychecks every now and then. And then eventually he kind of got out of cattle and he's like, well, are you going to come home and keep doing it? And at the time I had a good job going on. So I just kept it going. And then, yeah, eventually, there was a lot of different things that led to me leaving oil and gas. But the plan wasn't actually to leave oil and gas when I left northern Alberta. I worked, it was about 14 hours away from where I am here now. And it just, in a roundabout way, I'd left the company that I was at and I was coming home to my humble abode here that I've had forever. And I was actually in transitory mode. I was going to go to the Moomba Desert in Australia to continue working in oil and gas, kind of specifically in the transportation industry. I'm a bit of a transportation nut. And, I was just waiting. There was one little thing that had to come together on this gig I was getting in on, and then I was going to have to wait for a work visa. And I ran into this Mark guy when I was at home here, and we just went and he needed a hand for a couple of days, so I went and gave him a hand moving some cattle and messing around on the farm and stuff. And I found myself that night wondering why the fuck I ever left home, because I loved it. And so I just said fuck everything, and I just stayed home.
What
here we are now.
You mentioned going to Australia. You don't just up and go to Australia. And
You're Emma. Ag with them, huh?
It was there was a guy that I used to work with. I mean, that's kind of the cool. It's in any industry, but there was a guy I used to work with in northern Alberta years and years ago that went down and was working for a oil and gas company down there, and he kind of approached me with an offer. And he just needed a guy that was going to be able to go down there and work with road trains and had a little bit of hydraulic fracturing experience, which is kind of the whole industry that I worked in. So yeah, we just kind of had an unsigned deal that I was going to go down there and get this going on with him. Yeah. So it wasn't just like, it wasn't like an Aussie where I was, okay, here, Australia is kind of like Canada's like cousin. There's like a redheaded cousin, you know what I mean? Like we're pretty similar. We just have different accents. Apparently we have accents, but you go down there versus you come here, everything's kind of the same when you get into the rural parts of it. There's a lot less fucking snakes and spiders that want to kill you in Saskatchewan right now than there is in Australia, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, we had this thing going on. I was just going to go down there and it really wasn't going to be that big of a deal. There was a lot of guys that I used to work with in southern Alberta that were already over there. And it was going to be a pretty gravy gig. It was supposed to be a month in, month out. And, it was going to be cool. I was looking forward to it, but I mean, I'm just, once I came back home, I couldn't figure out why I had ever come up with an excuse to leave here again so far. But I mean, that being said, I don't have any crazy girlfriends chasing me out of town just yet. So leave, mate. So,
well, yeah, we should ask. So no crazy exes. Is Mr. McDick single?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if there's any available female listeners out there that have dads that have big farms that are paid for, I'm very single.
Black Book Romance.
We've got all kinds of listeners like that.
Single, no children that I know of, and it's just me and good old Topnell here. I got older brother and a younger brother. They both live a minimum 6 hours away, kind of thing. Jeez. My mom and dad are about they're about 12 miles away from where I live, kind of thing. So yeah, that's about it.
Nice. So that's probably where Quick Dick McDick came from. Is got some spare time, huh?
It was actually my Tinder username off the start. didn't work out very good. I didn't get any matches for some reason.
I
so
didn't get any matches.
yeah, I changed it and then I moved that name over to YouTube and it did better there. Yeah, I don't know
It did better on YouTube.
no, it's a play on my name actually. This whole thing just happened completely by accident. I didn't mean for any of this shit to happen. When I left the oil and gas industry, I had to leave my phone number with the company that I was with because like I was an operations manager there and I had a ton of, customer contacts and all this stuff or whatever. So I left my phone number with them and it was kind of a new start for me when I left there. I was like, new start, new phone number. And if there's one thing that I would recommend everybody do, like once every 5 years, just nuke your phone and like get a new number. And everyone's like, well, what about all my contacts? I promise you, the people that matter to you, you will get in touch with them very fast because they'll reach out to you or you'll be like, why don't I have this person's number? And you will find it and get it. And the other people, you just won't have to deal with them anymore. It's fantastic.
Sounds refreshing.
It kind of does.
But anyways, I'd come home from a job that had me going, 20 some odd hours a day, phone going off all the time kind of thing. And I came home and I just all of a sudden my phone wasn't going off and I wasn't looking after a trucking company. And I had a lot of time on my hands to go out and do work with the old man and carry on. I just found myself one day. So my dad, if you've seen any of my stuff, Big Mustache Al is my dad, right? He's a character that's in this Quick Dick video, right? But this literally is how this all started off. Is I was going on a motorcycle trip and my older brother had convinced me to download Snapchat. And he's like, just post once a day to your story where you are so that we know that you're not dead, right? I was like, okay, right? So I had this Snapchat thing, and I didn't want anybody to find me on Snapchat, so that's where the name came from. My name's Dixon DeLorme, but everybody calls me Dick. I've been a dick all my life, you know what I mean? And
you poor guy.
It's not easy being a dick, So I was like, Kate, on Snapchat, I'm just gonna make a play on my name and call myself Quick Dick because who would look for some guy named Quick Dick on Snapchat? Nobody, right? Well, Quick Dick was taken for some reason.
For some reason already.
So whoever the fuck's got that name, I mean, goddamn, man. Anyways, so then I added the last name McDick to it.
Is that like Bodie McBoatface? Wasn't that what? Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, come on. There was a tugboat in like the New York harbor that was owned by the city, and they were trying to come up with a new name because every boat has a name, and so they let the residents of New York vote on the name of the new city tugboat.
Yeah,
and literally it won. Bodie McBoatface.
Bodie McBoatface.
Bodie McBoatface.
I'm pretty sure of it. I'm gonna have to look the story up. I might have the wrong city, but I know that's what it is.
Either way, like it doesn't really matter what the city is. Goddamn, like there's people pick some crazy names. So here's
it even pre-filled into Google, so it's got to be
searched it before.
I have not searched it before.
At least that's what pre-filled in there. Nothing else.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Can get you in trouble sometimes, right?
Looks like the only fact that I had wrong is it was not a tugboat; it's a research ship.
Oh,
Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah. Name the vessel.
New York Times.
Yep.
Isn't that something?
It is. I love this. We're going to pause here real quick because we don't want to get too far in before we let some of our listeners know. We always try to spice up Busch Light. Busch Light is beautiful, pure tasting by itself.
You're sponsored by Busch Light?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Are you drinking Busch Light? What are you drinking?
No, I'm not.
What do you got there?
I'm drinking 9 Mile Legacy Brewing from the Southwest Terminal. It's brewed in Saskatchewan. I only drink beer that's made in this province.
Do you really? Or are you just saying that?
No, I'm dead serious. There's these guys. There's Great Western. There's Rebellion. There's Pile of Bones. There's Fourth Meridian.
You got plenty of choices.
There's all kinds of choices, and all the brewers in Saskatchewan make the beer here with barley that's sourced out of Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So
we once tried to
keep her as close as I can, and not that I got anything against Busch Light. I like drinking water every now and then. So.
I knew that was coming. We had tried.
That'll get edited out, won't it? Fuck.
Yeah. No. Close. We had actually tried to get some Canadian beers shipped down to us, and they got confiscated at the border.
Yeah, from Andy Pastor.
Yes. You guys won't even share.
What was
It's,
stuff?
did you say Andy Pastor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a beauty, eh?
Yep. Good stuff.
So we obviously Busch Light can stand alone and be fantastic, but every once in a while we got to throw some random stuff into it. And Dave brought in the studio today before we even got to fun shows and opened up the Dr. McGillicuddy's cherry liqueur. And we figured, why the hell not? Why shouldn't we put some of that into a Busch Light and see if we can make a cherry bush?
Cherry Bush.
Cherry Bush. This is a snowmobile drink. You should get the menthol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do a
See,
little
now
bit.
you guys are talking my language.
There
like
we go.
a snowmobile drink. Okay, where exactly are you guys at again?
We are Central Iowa.
Whoops.
Shit. I did not know we
Whoops.
had this much in common with Central Iowa. This is a snowmobiling drink. You're fucking right,
It is.
boys. Well done.
Holy smokes, look at that. You got that. It's mixed pretty strong.
Well, I haven't mixed it at all yet.
He
So.
hasn't mixed it yet.
Well, it's a shot. We're making a drink here, like.
So we love putting things. The episode a couple just before yours, we actually mixed Busch Light with eggnog, and that
how was it?
delicious,
Yeah, and I hate eggnog.
absolutely delicious. And the funny part is obviously we're recording this before the holiday seasons. It's going to come out in January, but today Busch Light just put out on their social media
Bushnog.
Bushnog. Like, are you
In
kidding
a can.
me?
December 22nd.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
It was delicious though. All right, cherry McGillicuddy's
Let's try it with Busch Light.
Busch Light.
Well, shit. Cheers, boys.
That's Cherry Bush.
Cherry Bush.
That is a cherry Bush.
It's actually pretty good. It's
really
better
good.
than the Sunkissed
with
and the cherry, because you made the Sunkissed and this
Yeah,
first.
cherry bombs.
And that was really sweet.
I still think this is a little sweet for me. I would probably go about half as much is what you put in here. Add some more Bush to it, but this
Cherry
is
Bush
still
bombs.
good.
Cherry Bush bombs.
That's
Cherry
pretty good.
Bush
Would that
bomb.
be is there any way that would be a way to describe like maybe a lady that you're dating's haircut downstairs? A
Yeah.
cherry bush.
Yeah,
That's a
especially,
cherry bush that you
especially if
got
she's a redhead.
Or
yeah.
hot taste. No, I mean, wait. I mean,
on there. I edited it already, but
I'm already edited. He
That
says.
one might.
this
I'll be
show's
honest
never
with-
going to make it out
one-
at
when
all.
when
It's
you guys first came on, I thought that you were drinking beer and clan.
Beer and what?
Beer and clan.
Clap?
It's a Canadian thing, isn't it?
What the
So
fuck
it's
is that?
Beer and Clamato juice.
Clamato juice.
Oh.
When you
We've done that,
Yeah.
but
It's what it looked like to me. I was like, shit, those guys are having a belly band-aid. Because, like, the day after you got completely pissed the night before,
Yes.
you're really hungover. Clamato juice, Tabasco sauce, beer, get her in you. Maybe put a little pickle juice in there. That's a belly band-aid. That'll fix you
Is
right
that
up.
why a Bloody
Belly
Mary's so
Band-Aid.
popular in the morning?
Maybe.
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah. We call them Caesars in Canada.
Yep, Caesar's.
Caesars?
yes,
Yeah.
I have heard that.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't know whether we're obsessed with Rome or what. I don't know why, but
You guys do seem to obsess about other countries. Australia. You got
I'm
some
not
French.
obsessed with Australia. I'm just saying they're our redheaded cousin. You know what
Oh.
I mean? And Rome, that happened.
They
a
probably
while ago.
have a cherry bush.
So do you know every state? It seems like to me every time I talk with somebody from Canada, they know everything about the U.S. and the U.S. doesn't know anything about Canada.
I wouldn't say that I know everything about the U.S. I know a little bit about the U.S. I've seen maybe half the U.S. ish kind of thing.
Yeah, tell that
what
story.
I'm-
Tell that story. How did you see half of the U.S.?
on a 2009 Harley Davidson night train. Yeah. So when I left my job in northern Alberta, I jumped on my motorcycle. One of my biggest complaints in my life was that I didn't ride my motorcycle enough. And I was like, well, I'm going to fix that. So I swung a leg over this thing, and I did, I don't know the mileage off the top of my head, but it was 26,500 kilometers. I did all 10 provinces and 2 territories. There's 3 territories, but one you can't get to by road. I got my picture with my motorcycle by each provincial crossing sign in Canada. So I went all the way from the east coast to the west coast of Canada, and then all the way north up into the territories and everything, it was pretty fucking awesome. But then when I went I dodged south out of Quebec, and I had a buddy that was turning 40, and his wife planned a surprise party for him in Boston when the Toronto Blue Jays were playing the Boston Red Sox. So I was in Quebec at the time, and I just jumped on my bike and I just pinned her. I just ripped all the way down to Boston and spent 3 days in Boston. We saw 2 games at Fenway Park. So I saw a whole bunch of like closer over towards the eastern side and a little bit of the eastern seaboard and stuff there on my way back up because I wanted to get back up into Fredericton, New Brunswick when I came back into Canada. And then when you get all the way over on the other side of Canada, if you're going to scoot back around, the quicker way to go is to swing down around the south side of the lakes. So it's kind of what I did. And, oh, man, I'll tell you a really fucked up story about being in I was in Minnesota. But anyways, I came up and I came through Postville, Iowa. I stayed one night. Iowa's a beautiful state. Wisconsin's a beautiful state. I get up into Minnesota. Sorry, go ahead.
You didn't notice he didn't say anything about Nebraska.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yep, keep on going.
I don't think I made it through Nebraska.
You didn't miss anything.
Nebraska, is that how it works? Right?
You didn't miss anything. You're fine. Yeah.
All right, so I'm bombing through Minnesota when I left Postville, Iowa this morning, and I remember it. I don't know why I remember it so well. But like it was so beautiful that morning. I left at 8:00 in the morning in a t-shirt. And like I got no windshield, no nothing on this night train. Like it's just you and the wind and the bugs. If you're leaving at 8 a.m. in a t-shirt, it's a nice day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm just ripping, everything's all good, and I get up into Minnesota and everything, and like it's kind of chilling off, and you can see there's clouds building in the distance. I'm like, oh man, what is going on here? And I get up kind of on top of a hill. I can't remember the interstate I was on, but I was gonna scoot it all the way west across Minnesota on an interstate. And I was like, shit, I'm going to put some gear on. Like, I'm freezing. It looks like I'm going to get wet. So I threw my leathers on, and I just pin it down this interstate. And before you know it, I'm in a full-on monsoon. Like, it is just upside down raining, and the wind's blowing and everything. And it got to the point where I was like, am I in a fucking tornado right now? Because I couldn't see anything. And so I got in behind this semi. And it's hailing and like everything's it's just a disaster. And I'm just following this semi's taillights. It's all I can see. And I'm like, I hope this guy knows where he's going. And I'm like, the bike's like sideways leaning into the wind. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to start looking for an overpass to get underneath because I think I'm going to die here. Right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you can kind of start to see it's breaking and the hail lets up and then it's a heavy rain and then it turns into a lighter rain. And then before you know it, the wind kind of dies down. I'm like, well, shit, I'm kind of out of it. This is cool. Fuck this, I'm going to get around this semi-truck and let's make some miles here, right? So I dive out around this semi and I drop 2 gears and just pin it because I like to ride like a banshee most of the time. And all of a sudden I just hear ding, 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 and all of a sudden I'm not going anywhere. I got all kinds of RPM, but I'm not going anywhere. So I pull over slowly to the side of this interstate and I think I nuked my transmission in this thing is what I think I got going on. Next exit off of this interstate is 2 miles from where I'm at, right? Can't get a hold of anybody. Nobody's answering for tow trucks or any of this stuff or whatever. And I'm in the rain and I'm like, wearing shit kickers and leathers. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to push this thing and get off the interstate. So I pushed this motorcycle 2 miles down the interstate. One person stopped. It was actually 2 guys on motorcycles. And they're like, hey, can we help you? And I'm like, well, not really, unless you got a tow strap and you want to pull me to the next fucking truck stop or whatever. They're like, no, we don't. I was like, don't worry about it. So I get off this interstate and I am in Jacksonville, Minnesota. Does that sound right? Jackson or Jacksonville? Jacksonville. And I'm phoning all over all these Harley shops and everyone's like, oh, it's a week. And everything's like an hour and a half away or whatever. I'm like, I need to be at a family reunion in 2 days. I don't have time for a week, right? Yeah. So I'm phoning all over, and I phoned this. The last thing I got is there's this really fancy place that's showing up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's 80 miles from where I'm at, and it's called Pico's Garage. And it's this chopper shop. Like, they got all this fancy iron and all this shit or whatever, and I'm like, these guys are going to laugh me off the end of the phone, right? I phone this guy, and this guy is like, what do you got? I was like, it's an 09 night train. Where are you? I was like, I'm in Jacksonville at a truck stop. Yeah, I know where you're at. He's like, have you checked your drive belt? And I'm like, yeah, the belt's there. I can see it. He's like, no. I want you to look close at the belt, right? And I look close, and I was like, holy shit. And I go to say all that. He's like, all the teeth are stripped off it, aren't they? I was like, yeah, how the fuck did you know that, man? He's like, I've seen it a million times. He's like, if you can get that thing here tonight, I'll have you back on the road tomorrow. I was like, shut up, man. So I start phoning around, and I phone around. This one guy, I think it was called Gus's service station, in Jacksonville, Minnesota. It was just a town that was right close by. Picks up the phone. I'm like, hey, here's what I got going on. I need a tow to get over to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He's like, gotcha. My son will come and get you right away, and we'll get you over there. And there's only a couple of guys that answer the phone, but a lot of them are like, well, it's $500 US to get you there, to get me 80 miles down the road. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah,
anyways, This guy's like, $350. I'm like, sold. Okay, so I start packing all my shit up and getting ready, and I'm looking, and this like 95 Chevy Blazer comes pulling into the truck stop. He's got this trailer on the back of it that looks like it was maybe home built. Comes driving up to me. He's like, are you Dick? I was like, yes, I am. He's like, I'm the guy taking you to Sioux Falls. And I was like, fucking right. Load the motorcycle up, strap her down, throw my shit, jump into the passenger seat of this 95 Chevy Blazer. No shit, boys. This guy looks at me, and he's like, where's your beer? I was like, I can drink beer on the way there? Well, fuck, yeah, I guess you can. Shit, hold on. Props to the States because you can go into a truck stop and buy beer. You can't do that shit in Canada. We're ripping in there. I'll call it Bush Lake. We'll plug your sponsor. Why not? A bunch of tall boys or whatever. I go ripping back out. I got like 4 of these things, and I sit down and I pop one. We get out on the interstate, and he's like looking at me, and I'm like, you want one? You're fucking right, I do. Yes. This guy gets me to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, unloads me. I send him with a beer back home, and this guy was waiting for me at Pico's garage and got me in there. And he's like, did you get a hotel? I was like, yeah, I'm staying here at the Red Roof Inn. He's like, holy shit, you've got no standards, do you? I'm like, no. So he's like, I'll give you a ride over there. So he gives me a ride, and on the way there, he's like, that's a Peeler bar, that's a college bar, that's this bar. I was like, oh shit, right on. He's like, go have some fun. He's like, I should have you ready to go by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll come and get you when we're done. I was like, shit, right on. So I got just annihilated in Sioux Falls, South Dakota that night.
It's probably about the only thing to do in Sioux Falls.
Hey, I got drunk, and your guys' stripper bars are really fucking weird down there. So that's a story for another podcast, I guess. But
that's just Sioux Falls.
Anyways, the more he phones me, 10 o'clock that morning, he's like, we got you ready to rock and roll. I'll come and get you. He came and got me, got down there. He fixed my taillight. He fixed my clutch cable and fixed this. And he's like, you got to do better looking after this bike, man. I was like, no, I know. I hear you, right? But anyways, he's like under $300 US to get all this stuff done. And I was gone. If anybody out there is ever in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, you stop through Pico's garage and tell the boys Quick Dick sent you, because it's the badassest place I've ever found in my entire fucking life. It was unreal.
I love stories like that.
That's awesome.
I do. And I didn't want to interrupt you, but pinning her back, that's got to be a Canadian thing, or at least a motorcycle thing.
Hey, what was it?
Pinning her.
Pinning her back.
Pinning her back.
Pinning her.
Just throttling it.
Throttling her back. The semi.
So if I could translate that, that would be holding the throttle wide open.
Yep. No, I totally got what you said. And then he pulled in behind a semi.
Because it's a semi truck down there.
Semi
Chase Barber
semi.
did that too. Yeah.
Yep. And then it was Tico's garage or garage. How did you say that?
Pico's garage.
Pico's
Garage.
garage.
It's almost like a Boston
garage.
accent.
It's a garage.
Well, how do you say is a garage?
It's a garage.
Garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long A. Is that
Garage.
Garage.
Yeah, garage.
See, like that sounds more French to me. Like I feel like that should be the Canadian way of
Should be
saying
the
it.
That'd be like
Canadian
up in Quebec country, yeah.
I did look it up. So obviously I pulled up here. Corey can see it. Dave now can see it. The bike that he rode. I pulled up a night train just to give him an idea
I know
of
what a night train is.
what it looks like without a windshield on it. 27,500 kilometers.
Hey, I had a 2010.
17,000 miles.
I had a 2010 Harley Davidson Fat Boy low.
I had
I know my Harleys.
I had a dyno lowrider myself until we had kids.
Nice.
I missed that bike.
It was a killer trip. Took me 3 months altogether to do it, and I just lived out of 2 saddlebags and just went and saw places that I wanted to see, and just kept tearing around. Actually, went through Death Valley, and we ripped down. So I'd ran a marathon. I entered to run a marathon in Maple Creek, Saskatchewan, and then we ripped down south. I was riding with a buddy at that point in time. Won this marathon and then rode down into the States there that night yet.
Oh, jeez.
And
how sore were you the next day?
like not bad, but I'd been riding the bike for 2 months at that point in time, so I wasn't hurting that bad. And I was back then, I guess. Well, I say back then, but I mean, I trained to run that thing, so I was in fairly decent shape. I probably couldn't run a mile now, but we ripped down into the States and then got up the next day and we ripped as far south as we could, and we just crossed the border. I think we just got into Nevada and camped in the desert there. And then woke up the next morning and started ripping down and went all the way down to Las Vegas. Got into Las Vegas at would have been 3:30 in the afternoon. Just got interplanetary in Las Vegas that night, and we had timelines that we had to keep going. And never go to Vegas with a timeline. Anyways, got up the next morning, got our pictures at a Vegas sign. Some Elvis guy was there performing and grabbed our picture for us. And then we pinned her across over through Death Valley, and we were going to ride the California coast, right? You do not want to be hungover and get to Furnace Creek, and it's 127 Fahrenheit.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
I am not built to handle that kind of weather. I'm okay. It's minus 42. It's minus 42 Fahrenheit right now here in Tufnell tonight with the wind. I am equipped to handle this weather, but you put me at 127 Fahrenheit above zero, I crumble.
Jesus. And you were hauling canola in this weather?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I guess you kind of have to, don't you? It's Canada.
You know what? When I worked oil and gas, have you ever heard of or seen the show Ice Road Truckers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. Okay. I spent a better part of my oil field career running ice roads up in northern Canada. It's not as dramatic as they make it out to be, but I mean it's nothing for it to be minus 50 Celsius and you out there trucking. It's just you get used to it, and that's just what you do.
Right.
They make a big deal about putting tire chains on. Fuck, you just put tire chains on. It takes 5 minutes, then you climb the hill, then you take them off, and then you keep going. It's just what we do.
Just part of the job.
Yeah, exactly.
God, I'm fascinated.
When I'm on the farm here now, I'm actually allowed to have a beard, which is nice for the cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're not allowed to have this shit when you work oil field in Canada. You got to be clean shaven, right?
It doesn't make sense to me. Who's regulating that?
OH&S.
So that would be like our OSHA?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically OSHA, yeah. But it's just to be compliant to H2S standards in Canada, you have to be. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, but you have to be able to have a sealable face with a MSA respirator.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not even worried about it getting caught in something.
No.
It's the respirator side.
It's all
of things.
for evacuation.
That's what you had to do on the fire department.
You can have a mustache.
Yep.
You can have a mustache, but it's got to be even with your top lip. And I just kind of did a quick check with you guys, but I mean, who has a mustache that's even with your top lip? If you got a mustache, it's coming down here. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Corey's pretty close.
On there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. You do see a lot of firefighters with mustaches.
Well, that's why I had never grown a beard until a couple of years ago. Yeah. And then,
That's fine. Well, Mr. McDick, I only say that. I understand that you're dad and all this stuff, but I think
everybody calls me Quick around here.
Oh, really? Well, I'm calling you Mr. McDick because it's just fun to say.
It is fun to say.
We like to play games with our guests and kind of break up the stories. And for you, we're going to play Would You Rather.
Okay.
And we won't get too dirty. We'll start off with an easy one for you.
Hit me with it. Yeah.
Would you rather travel 10 years into the future or 100 years back into the past?
Oh, shit. Do I get to ask a question about what happens when I'm doing it, or I just got to answer?
Oh, you ask whatever you want. It's part of the game.
Okay. Am I allowed to talk to my past self? Well, if it's 100 years, I guess I wouldn't be around anymore.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. But sure, I would like to talk. You talk to whoever you want to talk to.
Well, shit. Yeah, you know what? No, I'd go 100 years back. I'd go and find my great grandpa Badger or whatever, and I'd be like, listen, man, buy all the fucking land you can. It's cheap as fuck right now. Just buy all of it, and then it'll be in the family when we get older there, right? No, I would definitely go into the past. Like 10 years in the future, I'm going to get to see 10 years in the future. You know what I mean? But 100 years in the past, you'll never be able to see it. How fucking cool would it be if you just rip back to 1920 and you could just cruise around for a little while and just see how shit was, right? I'm fascinated by the past. I've always loved history, and I'm a World War II nut. You ever heard of Dan Carlin or whatever? Like, I can't stop listening to that guy's podcast about just older wars and the Great War and all this shit or whatever. But absolutely, hands down, 100 years back.
All right. Next question. Would you rather find your soulmate or your life's purpose?
If he'd have had beer in his mouth, I'm pretty sure he'd have spit it out.
You know what? Soulmate, because I don't think my soulmate exists, so I would rather find my soulmate. I think I've got my life's purpose figured out or whatever, but yeah, soulmate for sure. Yeah.
Well, so what do you think your life's purpose is?
I honestly think that I was put here to make people laugh.
Well, hell, you're doing a damn good
So
job.
what's your soulmate look like?
Well, shit, I don't know. Like, that's like, I keep looking for her. Fuck, I hope it's a her, guys. I went through a period in my life, which is kind of a little bit of a reason why I left the oil field. Just get serious for a second here, where I'd kind of like I've always my whole life been a happy-go-lucky, fun, high-energy guy, and I kind of got to a point in my life where I was really miserable and unhappy, and like couldn't laugh, and it was a shitty time in my life. And for some reason, this Quick Dick character that got created by accident has just been me being the goofball that I kind of used to be. But for some reason, social media has made it so that a lot of other people see it. And I've started doing, talks and stand-up comedy, and I try and do it in a lot of my productions just to make people laugh. And I get a lot of messages and a lot of feedback from a lot of people being like, I was having a really shitty day, and then I watched your video, or I came and saw you live, or someone will come up to me after a presentation that I do, and they'll be like, that made me feel better. And I just feel like I went through a time in my life where I needed somebody like Quick Dick, and I guess in a roundabout way, I've become them. And if you can provide somebody relief from some kind of stress or misery or anxiety that they're going through, whether it's on a 1-minute TikTok video or whether it's a hour-and-a-half stand-up comedy show that you do, I just feel like that's just what I'm supposed to be doing with this. I don't know what it is that pushes me in that direction, but I feel very fulfilled making people's days better.
So tell us. I was gonna ask you, what that does to you. I mean, feeling fulfilled is one thing, but what's that do?
It's insane. It's like it feeds me. The YouTube thing and the social media thing is one thing. You've got all kinds of time to record it and edit it, and you can try and respond to comments and do a bunch of different shit or whatever. But like eventually, you're just looking at a screen, and it, not that it doesn't mean anything to me and to anybody out there that might be listening that watches me. Like, I appreciate your comments and everything, and I try and get back to as many of them as I can. But there's something about being in front of people, and you feel the energy of them, and you can feed off of that energy, and you can kind of give it back, and it's almost like an addiction. I've just been doing stand-up comedy for like a year. And it's like a drug. You just want to do more and more and more of it. I mean, sometimes you bomb and it kind of sucks a little bit, but more times than not, shows go really good. And I can't really describe the feeling, but it's it's a very rewarding thing to just see people laughing and having a good time. It's the one thing that the world needs so much more of. And if you can be a tiny little part of it, that's kind of chucking that out there in the community or in your province or wherever. I mean, shit, how could you be that lucky in your life? I never would have guessed.
That's awesome. So
what's your tour
interesting?
dates?
Sorry, hold on. I want to get into that. So the two different styles of podcasts that I listen to are either history or comedians, and it's fascinating to hear that a lot of comedians have the same feeling, the same observations that you just had of that's the reason they got into it. Some obviously they didn't know their spot and this was the fit and this is how they found themselves. But ultimately, the feeling of rewarding at the end of a night after you just made an entire room of people laugh, an entire audience, or you get the comments that you get, it's almost like a high is what they described it as.
It totally is. And it's kind of funny. The first comedy show I ever did, I've got I've got an hour and a half show that I do, which is it's a substantial amount of time to be on stage by yourself with a mic. And lots of people told me, oh, it's going to be too long. No one's going to, it just seems to go good. I don't know. So anyways, whether I got lucky or what, I don't know. But I'd originally written it for a fundraiser with a town just close by, because they were like, hey, could you come and when this YouTube thing started taking off, they were like, hey, could you come and do Quick Dick Live? And I was like what? Like push play on YouTube videos that you guys can watch or what? I don't know what you want me to do or whatever. They're like, no, do your thing, but do it live. So I kind of wrote this show, and COVID fucked everything up, and they had to cancel the event. But there was this one guy in Lethbridge, in southern Alberta. He was trying to scoop up a trade show, and he was like, "Hey man, you want to come and do a live thing here?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really have anything live. I have this show that I wrote that I could do." He's like, "Yeah, come and do that." I was like, "Okay." This guy puts me on stage at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Oh, geez.
At a completely dead trade show where nobody's had a beer. Honestly, guys, every second word in my live show was fuck. And so he's panicking because no one had bought tickets to this. So on his way down to the trade show that night, he phones all of southern Alberta to try and get people to come to his show. And for the first time ever, me walking on stage as a live comedian, if that's what you want to call me, my audience was 150 Hutterites.
Oh, really? Oh, no way.
I thought you were going to say it was like 10 people, but I don't think that's
150 Hutterites.
Is any better.
No, it was good
Rumspringer. Here we go. No,
yeah, and the first bit that I do is honestly a bit on Tinder and being in a small town in Saskatchewan, and it's just crickets. I bombed for an hour and a half, and there's nothing harder than just bombing for an hour and a half and knowing that you're bombing, but you got to fill this time slot, so you're just pounding beer trying to get through it, and it was all over. But I feel like I got my worst show out of the way off the start, and then it's kind of been up from there. So
150 Hutterites.
Do you have any crowd interaction? Because I see those comedians, they're like, "Oh, are you two dating?" And then they get that awkward where she says no and he says yes, and
you know what I've found is that stuff. It lets itself happen, and that was I wasn't very good at that when I first started, but
because I feel like that'd be an awkward question for the Hutterite community.
Are you dating her? Yeah, is that your cousin? I'm not sure how this is working out. You know what I mean? But no, it's it started off as I just try and get through my show, but I don't know why. I learned very, very quickly that the more you can incorporate the audience in it, and if you can make jokes, get to know kind of surrounding towns and a couple little things, and the tiny little things that you can make it like a local show for the people that are watching it makes it a lot better of a show. So I just let it present itself. If there's somebody that walks in there that gives me the opportunity to let it happen, then I let her rip on them, kind of thing. And if there isn't, then you just kind of keep doing your show. But I think that's the funnest part about it, is doing the YouTube thing and everything. You can edit and cut and take a different take and blah 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 blah. But when you're out in front of 500, 600, 700 people or whatever, there's no edits, there's no take backs. You're there, you're vulnerable, and you're either going to sink or swim. And I really like that. It's fun. Right. It's a challenge.
How did you learn how to write a comedy bit? Did you just watch others or come up with your own?
No, I didn't. I had this list in my phone. I've gotten notes in my phone or whatever. And whenever I see something that I think's funny, I'll just jot the thought down in there. And then they wanted me to write this thing for this fundraiser. And so just one night I just sat down and cracked a beer and just started writing. I took all these little ideas that I had and I just started expanding on them. And before you know it, I had an hour and a half of material. And now that I've got to this point, I've kind of I've got it worked into different bits, and then I started changing bits out, and so I've kind of got the show to a point now where I can kind of run different bits based on my audience or what's going on. I mean, I just got a new auction bit or whatever, where I talk about small town auctions or farm auctions, and I did a Christmas bit and this bit and that bit, and I don't know. I can't say that I really know what I'm doing. I just do what feels right, and I take it in front of an audience, and if you get a good reaction off it, then obviously you're doing it right. And if it's a shitty reaction, well, then you're like, well, I got to go back to the drawing board and see if I can rework it. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of, I think that's the fun, challenging part about it. You're just kind of working with almost a living thing that you can kind of mold and morph a little bit. And it's an absolute blast.
You got to send me the auction bit.
I was going to say, so would an auctioneer find the auction bit funny?
Are you an auctioneer?
Yeah, I am. So I'll send it to thousands of auctioneers across the country.
Oh, you fucking guys know how to get it. Yeah. Come on now. Get those hands out of those pockets now. Doesn't matter where we start, matters where we finish. Come on now, boys.
That's what he says.
Doesn't matter where we start.
You're just whores, though, is what you are. You know? Because you got something that's for $5,000. Right?
Yeah.
So like $5,000, we want to be anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 is what we want to see out of this. And you fuckers will start right where you want to that's the number you want. Let's go. This got a value of $8,500. I got a screaming deal here for you. Let's start it off at $5,000. Who's going to give me $5,000? Who's got a $5,000? Who's got a $5,000? Come on now. Who's got a $5,000? Anybody got a $5,000? Got a $5,000? And then you're just like a lady of the evening looking at a $2 bill. You just start dropping. You just want to get people in. So you go from 5, who's got a 4, who's got a 4, who's got a 3. Give me 3 to go. Give me 2, who's got 1. Then you get down to $2.50. Who's got $2.50? Anybody give me a $2.50? $2.50, anybody? And then there's a bunch of guys that want to bid on this, but they want it to go lower. And now that it's at $2.50, it's a fucking $5,000 unit. Everyone gets the same sickness, and they're just like, wait a minute, maybe nobody wants this. Maybe I'm going to get this John Deere 5020 for $2.50. Maybe nobody wants it, right? So then here's what happens. There's one guy in the audience, and he's just kind of got his hand in his pocket like this a little bit or whatever, and he doesn't want anybody to know that he's the guy bidding on it, right? So he just gives her one of these just to get her going. Then you know what happens?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Fucking callers that are circling like vultures right around the sale or whatever, just pointing at everybody or whatever, and they're just waiting. And that the guy gets just a little flick off this pocket there or whatever, then what does the caller do?
Yep.
Yeah! And then it's off. And then you're back to $5,000 in like 37 seconds.
Yeah.
Exactly. He takes a bid at $2.50, takes a bid at $8. The next one's at $5,000.
Yep.
Yep.
Fuckers.
Doesn't matter where you start, matters where you end up.
You will squeeze the last drop out of everyone's frickin' pocket, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so why do you do it? And then you get to the point where you're just like, all right, so we got $5,200 going once. We got $5,200 going. We're going to go once over there. $5,200 once, $5,200. And then the caller is over at the guy that's next up to be on. There's the guy that's on. And then there's the guy he's maybe the guy that was bidding against him or whatever. And the caller's like right up in his face like this, like touching him. Like, you want to go? He's on 52. Do you want to go? And you're like, no. And you're like, going once, going twice.
One more
Okay,
time.
we're going to go twice. Anyway, come on now, ladies and gentlemen. This 5020 is a prime unit here. Prime unit. Caller's just up in the guy's face kind of thing or whatever, and he's like, no. And then you're going twice again. Come on now, who's got it? Good. We're going to go 2.5 times here now. Who's got it? The 5020, 5200, going once, going twice. And then the caller's just like, and then the guy just can't take it anymore. He's just like, yeah. Boom! He's got it. You know, and then the last fucking $200 takes 6 fucking hours.
Yeah, you got to throw in the break. I'm gonna call the seller and see if it's okay.
Yeah, there you
see
go.
if he can drum up some more business.
Farmland's a little different than equipment, but yeah, you nailed it.
It's a thing. This is shit.
It
Fuck,
is.
that's funny that you're an
I'm really gonna go
auctioneer.
call the sellers, but I'm gonna call 30 other people to see if they want to bid on this.
Who would have thought that we could make a bit on a stand-up comedy bit out of Dave's job?
Yep.
Yeah. And then honestly, this whole online shit that's come about here in the last little while, I think you guys are fucking us most of the time. Because you get to going once, going twice, and then nobody. There's the one guy that's on that he's done. His wife's already called him twice and been like, "We're getting a divorce," because he was not supposed to spend over $4,000. So he's looking at the ground. And then the auctioneer doesn't even give a fuck. It's like, oh, online. We got an online bid at 52, 53 now. 53. Well, show me the screen, you son of a bitch.
Very true. Very true. Everybody thinks you don't have it.
Yeah. Especially when you're the one that's bidding against the screen.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Fuck, I'm giving all my material away here if I ever come and do a show down there.
Are you kidding me? We'd throw Dave up next to you while you did the bit. Yep. He's going to sit there and take it. You don't have any bits about bankers, do you?
Actually, I include the banker in my auction bit. The whole part of where the auctioneer is trying to grind you down to that going once, going twice, going 2.5 times. There you are texting your banker being like, hey, do you think I can go to $5,700 on this kind of thing? Right? Yeah.
Bank only said they'd give me $2,000.
So I got to come up with the rest.
Yeah.
If I bid anything over $2,000, I got to come up with it myself.
The land's worth $13,000 and you only get $4.
You only get 4. That's right.
I'm turning the questions on you guys for a second here, if I'm allowed to. Well, like what got you guys doing this? What's the point of it, or what made you start it?
Yeah. So it goes clear back as my profession as an ag banker is I can't give advice directly to the customer. I can give you options. I can financially lay out how it's going to affect your operation, but I can't tell you to sell your corn today because due to lender liability laws.
As a banker, you can be like, well, here's my interest rates. You just want to bend over. We'll make a duck shape with our hand here, and we'll just.
In today's world, that's about exactly how it goes.
Yeah.
But due to lender liability issues and potential lawsuits, if I told you to sell your corn today, it goes up 20 cents tomorrow, you could technically sue me for the difference. So instead, started with a conference to where brought people that we considered experts into one room to give you advice as a customer. And then the audience got bigger than just my customers. We brought Dave in. He was one of the speakers during the first conference. And after a couple of years of just doing a one-time-a-year in-person meeting, all the surveys said, you need to do something monthly. Well, we started writing a newsletter, and I freaking hated writing a newsletter. Well, here I am writing 20 times as much as I ever did in a newsletter and podcast outlines, but that's how it all started. So basically we interview either experts or just cool people like yourself. No, I'm kidding.
Cool.
So you're not cool.
No, we started about 3.5 years ago. We started in my basement. So
yeah, we're not together. It's not like we were in his basement, but like the podcast.
Whoa.
You guys got going on?
That was just the profit side of things.
Yeah. So then where the podcast really took off growth-wise was Corey was one of our original listeners when it was all business all the time. And he came to us and he said, hey, you guys got to lighten it up.
Corey came in and is like, hey, you got to make this into a mullet. It can be business in the front, but can you get some party in the back here or what?
That's the mascot. We're the Mullet of Agriculture
We're the Mullet of Ag podcast.
Exactly.
Corey's my kind of guy. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
So he brought beer into the picture.
All right. Right on. Cool.
You can't be business all the time, and the business you do have can be fun.
That's
so
right.
Sometimes you can't just farm for profit. Sometimes you're losing money. You just got to just drink a beer and have fun.
Yeah, well, that's why I got into cattle, because I got tired of paying fucking income tax. So
Me too.
So Dave was trying to ask you in the middle, and I kept interrupting him. But you're obviously got a comedy bit all written up. Do you have tour dates?
Well, no. So how I've decided to manage it is to book a venue and to sell tickets and to do all this shit or whatever. I gotta be. You guys are front row witness to what my life is. Like tonight, I'm an hour late. By the way, thank you guys for anybody that didn't know. I showed up an hour late to this gig or whatever. That's my life, right? Because I do farm and we have cattle and it's just a shit show all the time, right? I don't have the time, and to be honest, I guess I don't really have the patience to try and do live shows and book venues and all this stuff. But a really cool thing that I've been able to do with this is I actually fundraisers and different committees and stuff from like small towns, like volunteer fire departments, curling clubs, daycares, seniors' homes, and everything. And all these little towns, they'll reach out to me and they'll be like, hey, we got a hall that can hold 300 or 400 kind of thing, and we want to do a fundraiser for this. And I'll just be like, sounds great. How many people? What are you selling tickets for? Here's my price to come there, and let's raise some cash for whatever it is that you're doing. So they got to organize it all. They got to do the liquor permit, the meal if they're going to do it, anything, blah, 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 blah. And then I just go and I jump on stage and I make people laugh for like an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours kind of thing. And it's been amazing. I think just since I started this fall run here, we've done almost $250,000 worth of fundraising in a bunch of small towns in this area. So it's good for me because I can just show up, do my thing, and go, and I don't have to plan a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's good for them because it's a good draw for the community, and everybody gets to come out and have some fun and get together and raise some money. So that's kind of the way I've managed it, and it's worked well for me. I'm not in this to get rich. I like to help places. My time is worth a little bit, especially when you're gone, every weekend and then sometimes through the week kind of thing. But it's just I've been really lucky to be able to do it and to be able to give back to some small towns, So that's kind of the way I've kept it, and it's worked out really good.
That's awesome.
I don't know how to follow that up.
I'm not here to be Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle or anything that's selling out Madison Square Gardens. You know what I mean? If I can sell out the Tufnell curling rink, I'm happy with that. It's good. You know what I mean?
I do.
What's his name was looking for a podcast guest just earlier.
Oh, Kreischer?
Yeah, Bill. Or yeah,
Bert Kreischer?
Bert Kreischer. Yeah. I love his laugh.
I don't get how he can just go so speechless in his laugh. Like he can't talk anymore. Yeah.
How's the podcast scape been for you guys? Like, do you feel like there's getting everyone and their dog's got a podcast now?
Oh,
Do you feel like you're the OG guys, or like where's the podcast lay of the land at for you guys?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Everybody's got a podcast. Corey's been saying that for 2 years.
Yep.
The belief that we have is the consistency, both in showing up. So every Monday, every Thursday. So the consistency is a huge factor in being successful. Secondly is the expectation of audio quality. For example, we had 2 shows. The audio quality most recently didn't do so hot. Yep. And you could clearly tell that there was a little bit of drop off.
Yeah, you guys probably hate my audio right now on this old 2013 MacBook in my kitchen.
You're fine. It's coming through fine. We'll get it cleaned up. But there is a lot of credit to come to quality, because if someone has to turn in their car and turn the volume up between guests, so huge props to our editor to try and keep things balanced. Other than that, you definitely have to have a niche, or you have to be somebody that can apply to masses.
Like, what kind of itch would you have?
Yeah, it's a niche, right? It's a niche, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
Just wait, guys. That's going to make a lot more sense here in a week.
Sense, yeah.
Yes. Yes. My itch.
I think everything's got to have a niche.
Yeah. Unless like you, because the tricky part is those that come into the podcast world that started off with a large following somewhere else are going to find instant success. You've built up an audience as a YouTube star, a comedian, as a president of the United States. Obviously, people are going to draw into you. If you are going to start one I'm not going to even use the term nobody. If you start one from ground zero with your mom and your dad and your customers listening to you, it will be a grind.
It is a slow grind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, but like that's a lot of people are like, well, you should have way more followers or subscribers or this or that than you do, kind of thing, or whatever. But I just thought I kind of like keeping my stuff tacky, and my audio is kind of shit sometimes, and my videography is kind of shit sometimes, or whatever. But like that's like Quick Dick's mantra kind of thing, and I'm not in it to get a million subscribers or to make a living off it. I mean, I just kind of base my success off of 3 or 4 community members around here that they don't even know how to leave a comment on YouTube, so they'll text me if they see a video that I've done that they like, and they're like, "Hey, that was a great video." if I get that from 4 or 5 people around here, I just kind of call it a success, and I haven't done a lot to try and push it or, work the algorithms and a bunch of different shit. I just kind of let it be what it is, just because it's a side gig or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether the organicness of it is what's grown it to where it is. I'm not sure, but I guess I not that it doesn't mean anything to me, but I probably don't put the effort into it that I should to try and push it out and make it professional. I just kind of, let it be what it is.
Right.
I don't know. So whether that's what's made it what it is, just letting it be what it is, or, maybe it's holding it back a little bit. I really don't know. But at the same time, I really kind of don't care. I just want to keep having fun with it and doing my thing. Right. So.
I tell you what, I gauge the success of my TikToks when my wife's coworkers see them and tell her about them. So that's I know I've got a good one when they bring it up.
Yep.
It just drives her nuts, but that's
a
the
good
fun
gauge.
part.
TikTok pisses me off. I hate that platform.
Careful. I would say we each have our frustrations with
sponsored by
TikTok.
TikTok?
No, but we do have a substantial amount of our listener base that has either followed us over from there.
I think they probably all agree, though.
It is frustrating.
Frustrations.
So the reason I actually the whole reason I started on TikTok an account there was just because I wanted the ghost of Chairman Mao to have my banking information. So that's why I started. But it's a real to be honest. TikTok's a bullshit platform. If you try and hit your link to your online store, or you try and hit something else or whatever, they derate you and they'll take you down, or you violate their guidelines.
Oh yeah.
The one recent one here, you guys were trying to find some royalty free music, and obviously I deal with a lot of different copyright things and whatnot in a lot of the productions I do, so I'm very mindful when I'm doing content. To be careful with copyright safe and royalty free material and whatnot or whatever. And I just did one here the other day about running the truck extremely low on fuel, and I did it in a platform that I edit all my videos on when I'm on the road. Not near my laptop kind of thing. If I'm fueling up or loading or whatever, that's when I do most of my editing. And upload it on a TikTok, and just because you don't edit it within TikTok and use TikTok based music, I know that it's copyright safe and royalty free music that I use, and they copyright strike, and they mute it, and then nobody watches it kind of thing because you didn't do it within TikTok. It's fucking gross, but all the platforms do it in their own little way.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
And that's a big reason that I try and stay under the safety net of YouTube. YouTube is actually, there's some really shitty stuff about YouTube, but YouTube is really good with handling copyrights and royalty agreements and whatnot. They're one of the best out there, and so it keeps you safe from a lot of
That's because Google owns YouTube.
It does. I didn't realize that until you go to try to monetize YouTube.
Oh yeah,
Google AdSense.
Yeah.
AdSense and Google and for a guy that's on social media a lot, I really fucking hate social media.
Which I would say probably a lot of us and our listeners would argue the same thing. It's one of those necessary evils, unfortunately, when you get to this point. But
it kind of is. The craziest thing has been I think I've seen how YouTube, how algorithms work and how social media affects people. I actually do a talk. I go to elementary schools. I do talks to high schools and stuff too. And I have a whole presentation put together. It takes about 45 minutes to get through it, and we just go through why likes are important to you and why it's important for you to have people see, and what views mean, and how social media affects us and how algorithms work. And it's pretty staggering. You get into the grade 4, 5, and 6 age group with a lot of these places that I go and talk to kids. 60% of a classroom or a group of grade 4, 5, and 6 kids, if you ask them what they want to be when they want to grow up, they want to be YouTubers.
Wow.
My kid wants to be it. He's in 6th grade.
60% is the what I've found from the demographic here, and we live in a society now where parents all want to tell their kids, well, if that's what you want to do, there's nothing stopping you from doing it. You go do it, kind of thing or whatever. I go there to break and shatter their dreams. I go and I'm like, so look at my YouTube account here in Canada. I got 108,000 subscribers and this and that and da da da. I was like, pretty good. Hey, and everyone's like, yeah. And I was like, I am not even in the top 600 in Canada for YouTube channels or whatever. And then I show the monetization side of it of how it works. And I'm like, this is not something you can make a life off of. And I've been lucky enough that it's kind of done what it's done. But I said the chances of you actually making a successful YouTube channel are about 1 in 100,000, if that. I was like, so it's okay to want to do it and to pursue it, but it's got to be a complete side gig. You've got to have your life set up. You got to be able to make payments. You got to be able to do this. You got to be able to do that. And if this starts taking off, then you can slowly manage it that way. But I made the mistake of showing a class. So the first time I ever did this, I took it's over 3.5 years. I took the monetization value off of my YouTube channel and I put it on a slide that I had put on the projector or whatever. And it's 35 grand over 3.5 years or whatever, right? Which averages out to about $10,000 a year. I mean, it's not chump change, but I mean, like,
sure,
you can't make her off 10 grand a year. You know what I mean? Well, the worst thing you'll ever do is show a room full of fucking grade 4, 5, and 6 that you've got 35 grand on your YouTube channel. Oh my God.
He's rich.
That's the best thing ever. Ah, shit.
He's rich. He's rich. But I do like that you included the part in your presentation about what likes mean and what likes do and what follows do, because I've got nieces and nephews that are high school age, and I watch my niece open up an app. We'll just say Instagram for the sake of this. And I just watch her like everything from her friends. And then I asked her, I said, why are you doing this? And she goes, well, I want them to feel like what they are doing is good. I want them to feel good about it, so I'm going to continue to hit the heart button for all my friends' stuff. I'm like, do you actually like it?
Yeah, but and you know, like good for her. She's considerate of her friends' feelings, and like that's important, right? But my bigger thing is like there was a couple of kids that were like, you know, I want to do videos like you do, and I want to show people how we farm, and I want to do this and that, but like I don't get any views and I don't get any likes. And there's one kid, he was upset about it, right? And he's like, he doesn't know what to do. I was like, well, show me something that you've done. And so he showed me, and yeah, he's got 3 views, but he's got 3 likes as well, right? And I said, okay, why is it important to you that somebody likes it? Well, I want to know. I want to feel like accepted. It wasn't his words exactly, but he wants to feel accepted, and he wants to feel like what he's doing was good, right?
Yep.
And he's like, look at your video. You've got 670-some thousand views on this fertilizer video where I basically swear like a sailor through the whole thing, kind of thing. I was like, if you run the numbers on the likes to views of what I've got, you're actually doing better on your channel than I am. I was like, you've got 100%. You've got 3 views. You've got 3 likes. I said, there'd be 675,000 people have watched my video, and I might not have changed anybody's mind by what they watch. I said, but if you look at yours, how do you know that you haven't changed 3 people's views on how you spray canola with your dad that you did the video on? How do you know you haven't changed 3 people's lives? And he looked at me. He's like, I guess I don't. I was like, do you know you might have changed more people than me? I actually never looked at it like that. I was like, well, just keep telling your story and stay true to yourself. And maybe eventually someday more people will watch. But if they don't, maybe you're just going to keep changing 3 people. And you got to be okay with that. And it's the advice I give kids. I mean, whether it's bullshit or not, I don't know. But I mean, it's just, but like, that's the way I try and get them to look at it.
Hell, you made me feel good about it. Corey gets all these views on TikTok. I get like,
yeah, you might have changed more lives than I did.
Yeah, just it's
okay. But you only had 300 views.
Make me feel damn good about myself.
It's just what it's just that's how we slowly change. If we've got a rural-urban divide, or we're trying to change how people view agriculture or whatever it is that we're trying to change. You don't do that 1 million people at a time. You do it 2, 3, 4, 20, 30 people at a time. That's as fast.
It's crazy to think of, because those kids have had nothing but this since they've known.
That's exactly right.
And it came about for us.
That's
true.
It
was something cool to just try and get into. Yeah. And
we're old.
I get every time we're with Zach Johnson.
I gotta run and grab my power cable here. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
All right, good.
Every time we're with Zach Johnson, and we were out go-karting with him at the FBN Farmer to Farmer conference, and I get 2 or 3 kids that'll comment on my videos, and then they'll message me, and they're like, "Hey, tell Zach to follow me back." And I'm like, and I finally just got tired of it. I'm like, dude, no, that's weird. Like, and I'm not with him anymore. Why do you think I'm with him like 5 days after the, like, well, you got his number. Can you text him? I'm not going to text Zach Johnson. I don't even know who you are.
Right.
But it's like, I tried to be nice, and I'm like, dude, hey, that's kind of weird. Just keep doing what you're doing. And like, make content. Don't just, that's like, you're too thirsty.
Well, and it's hard. It's hard to have perspective because we've had that, not even from kids, from people in the community that know that we've had the privilege of interviewing Mr. McDick here, and God, there's just so much fun to say. I just can't not say it. That will be
easy on the term privileged. Yeah.
We'll get the reach out. Can you pass this on, or can I have their contact information? And that's not ours to share. No. We're very privileged that you responded to the creepy DM that we sent you, and then shared your contact information and got the interview lined up, and it's
That's my booking agent. He's a real dick.
It just gives it away. Just absolutely. That'd be a good booking agent to have. But it's quite interesting that they are viewed as celebrities, and that's just such a weird thing to think about what actual celebrities go through. I mean, you imagine being a famous movie star compared to the exposure that, Zach and Dick and people get on YouTube, Laura Farms, that have fans, have a substantial number of fans, but are not a Brad Pitt, are not a Tom Cruise, to where you can't go anywhere and not get noticed.
Are you saying that I'm not as attractive as Brad Pitt? You son of a bitch.
I should have probably picked somebody else, right? That was way too obvious.
You know what?
He was just talking about fans, like OnlyFans and Quick Dick or something.
That's the username. It should have gone from Tinder to OnlyFans.
Right? I think I'll speak to that a little bit. Because like I was saying, it's really strange. You get numbed. I do anyways. I mean, everybody's got a different way, but I get very numb to views and comments and likes and everything. It just, eventually you just kind of stop looking at it. I think it's because I've always got so much on the go, and this is kind of a side gig, and I don't pay as much attention to it as I should. As I said, doesn't mean I don't appreciate everybody's comments and try and get back to them or whatever, but you kind of lose track of it, right? And especially my character kind of grew, and this platform kind of grew during, COVID and all these fucking restrictions and shit or whatever. But it never really registered to me until I remember the first big event that I went to was Chris Stapleton was playing in Saskatoon, and my older brother had an extra ticket. And I'm a pretty big Stapleton fan. And he's like, "Hey, man, I got an extra ticket. You want to come and check out Stapleton in Saskatoon?" And that's one of the bigger cities in Saskatchewan here, right? It's the biggest city. It's not our capital, because our capital is Regina, because why not have a capital city with a name that rhymes with anyways. So I was like, shit, yeah, let's do it. I'll go, man. So we went into SaskTel Center in Saskatoon, and honestly, guys, I'm not a big deal. I'm just a regular guy. I'm no different than you guys. I'm no different than my dad, my community member. I'm just another guy. And eventually we walked into SaskTel Center, and I couldn't go anywhere. I could not move. There was people coming up, grabbing pictures. He's a huge fucking guy, came running up to me and grabbed me and lifted me off the ground. He's hugging me. He's like, "I love you." And I was like, "Please don't fuck me." You know what I mean?
You're the next Timmy Hose, man. Start your own freaking breakfast gas station.
It was super weird, and that was kind of the first time that had happened to me, and I didn't realize. Then all of a sudden, you realize how many people are watching your stuff, and then going to different shows and doing this stuff. I sign autographs and take pictures of people or whatever, and I was like, why do you guys want me to sign shit? Do you want to just have a beer? I'm just a regular guy. But I had a lady that runs a local radio show here in New York, in GX94. It's just an AM radio station here that we grew up on. And she kind of put it into perspective for me, and she said, you're in people's homes with them. She's like, people feel like you're a part of their family. She's like, you might not know it, but people will sit down at their table and they'll be eating supper and they might put Quick Dick on the TV and watch an episode. Or, you might be in the car when you're driving somewhere and everybody's watching a Quick Dick episode. She's like you're unintentionally a part of their family. And all of a sudden people think that they know you. And I was like, shit, I never looked at it that way, right? I had, I took my truck to Yorkton to get fixed one day, get a new windshield in it, and the glass shop is right across from a restaurant there or whatever. So I dropped the truck off. I hadn't eaten anything, and I whipped over there. And I was like, I'm gonna go. They're gonna put the windshield in. I was like, I'm going across the street. I'm gonna have a beer and a bite to eat. I was like, you guys phone me when it's done. They're like, okay. I fucking shit you not, boys. I go across the street in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. I sit down, the waitress comes up, I order beer and clam, and I think I ordered a beef dip or whatever, because you got to support beef, right? And I'm sitting there, enjoying my beer, waiting for my food, and this guy comes walking in, and he sits down 2 tables away from me. Sits the fuck down 2 tables away from me, gets his phone out after he orders, and starts ripping a Quick Dick episode at full blast on his phone, watching it. And he's laughing, and then he watches another one. And me, Quick Dick McDick, is sitting 2 tables away from him, looking at him, watching him watch me. And it's the weirdest thing. The waitress comes up and asks me, she's like, would you like another beer? And I said, yeah, sure, thanks. And she says, no problem. Do you think he knows you're sitting here? I was like, oh, you know who I am? She's like, yeah, oh, I know who you are. And she's like, I'm going to go say something. I was like, don't. Just let it be what it is. This guy watches 4 episodes, full blast, in Boston Pizza is actually what the restaurant was there. And stands up, and he's leaving. I'm having another beer because I'm waiting for them to tell me that my truck's done or whatever. I shit you not. He walks right by me, looks at me, and is like, hey, and just keeps walking. Not a fucking clue. The guy that he was just watching on his phone for an hour is sitting right there 2 tables away from him. I think that's the most, whether you'd call it humbling or weird experience I've ever had. I was just like, but that's a testament to how into social media we are, that we're not even aware of our surroundings anymore. You know what I mean? This guy's sitting there watching Quick Dick, sitting 2 tables away from Quick Dick, and doesn't get it.
There's a late night TV show guy that'll do street side skits, and he'll walk down the street with a movie star.
Who is this?
And he'll be like, have you ever seen this movie? And oh yeah, I love it. Do you love the lead actress? Yeah, she was great in it. What do you think about her and all this stuff? And she's standing right next to him, like legit. It's Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah.
So who does it?
I think it's not Jimmy Fallon.
I thought it was Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel, I think it is.
Jimmy Kimmel does it.
Yeah, that's funny actually. Yeah. It's weird. I don't know. Yeah. I guess next question, but I just I never would have expected any of this to ever happen, and I think. I hope everybody realizes. I've had people message me that are like, I saw you at this event that you did, but I was too scared to come up and say hi to you. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Hey. Come up, say hi, have fun, let's do our thing. I was at Agribition, which is a huge livestock show here in Saskatchewan. And I got the feeling people would be too nervous to come up and take a picture with me. So I kind of got it figured out after a while. I was like, hey, you guys want to take a picture with me? Oh, yeah, I thought you wouldn't ask. You can go up there. But the problem with that is there's 2% of the people you're actually getting the wrong feeling off them. They have no fucking clue who you are, and they don't want a picture with you. You're like, hey, do you want a picture with me? And they're like, no, why would I want a picture with you?
That's what we should start doing in Louisville.
Don't try and explain to them who you are if your name is Quick Dick and they don't know who you are. Don't do it. You get arrested. You get taken to the precinct. Yeah,
that happened with me and Kevin, YouTuber.
You were telling him that you were Quick Dick?
No,
you son of a bitch!
No, we went out, and this young kid, he just kept pointing, and his mom finally came up. Is it okay to take a picture with you? So
that's funny. All right, so we've spent quite a bit of time with you. We appreciate you hanging around, entertaining our listeners. This has been fun. This is the first time that we did a Would You Rather or did a segment and it completely went into an entire story that took over the rest of the episode.
Yep.
So
Yeah, sorry, guys.
No, don't apologize. That's the fun part about it. Is it's meant to.
Yeah, no, I hate answering fucking questions, so I just try.
Hey, I love it. Absolutely love it. I will tell you one thing. I'm jealous. As an American, I am jealous that we don't have cool ways to say shit like you Canadians do. A beef dip? I assume that's a hot beef sandwich.
Oh,
And-
come on, guys. Really?
And a beef dip sounds way cooler than a French,
French
dip
dip.
or
French
a
dip.
hot,
It's a French dip.
hot beef sandwich.
You guys, okay, a beef dip it's like shaved beef that's inside of a bun, like a short submarine sandwich, but there's just cheese and beef in
There's
it.
cheese in that.
Okay.
French dip doesn't have cheese on it.
Yeah, be like a Philly.
Ah.
And then, it's kind of like Philly, but there's no vegetables.
No
vegetables
vegetables.
do not belong with meat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then there's a tub of au jus. It's
Oh,
yes.
and you dunk it in there, and you just get it in you.
French
Beef
dip
dips
with
are
cheese.
fucking awesome.
It is. It's French dip with cheese. I love that. So, yes, thank you so much for hanging around. First of all, you got to plug all your platforms. How do people find you? Is it just search Mr. McDick?
No, don't search.
Don't
Mr.
search.
McDick. It'll take you to a website that you want nothing to do with. Actually, I'm at Quick Dick McDick on everything. Quick Dick McDick, right how it sounds, except Instagram, because those fucks wouldn't let me use that username. So it's QD McDick on Instagram.
Since that makes it so much better.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. And I got quickdickmcdick.ca. I got some. I'm actually wearing a beekeeper shirt here or whatever, but I started out on this endeavor a while ago. Everyone's like, "Hey, where can we get a T-shirt?" And I'm like, "You want like one of my T-shirts, like from my closet, or what do you want?" They're like, "No, like a Quick Dick shirt." So I started getting a bunch of shit made in Canada because too much garbage is made in China nowadays, and that's kind of led down this whole thing of getting into the Canadian apparel manufacturing industry, which has been really cool. So quickdickmcdick.ca, there's some cool toques.
Toques, yeah.
I thought it was
Bunny
tote.
hugs.
Yes.
Bunny hug?
Bunny hug, yeah. So it's like a hooded sweater. We call them bunny hugs in Saskatchewan.
And the toque
That's
is
a
like
nice
a
bunny
It's a
hug.
stocking hat, right?
stocking hat.
Yeah.
No, a toque is not a stocking hat. It just like goes over your. I think you guys call them beanies, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's
It's hard to translate. Even we're all speaking English.
But a beanie's still a stocking hat.
It's still
It's just a less of a
it
stocking
doesn't have the ball.
Yeah. Or not as thick.
See, we call them a pom pom.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
You guys spell stuff weird, too.
Program with an E at
all
the
over
end?
place.
Yes. All right, but before we let you go, every guest gets asked the same question, and we
Right.
started 23 off with a new question, and you're not going to be able to escape that.
All right, I'm no exception to the rule.
He
What?
kind of already hit on it.
He did.
In
He
one.
did.
I want to see if it's the same.
What does success look like to you?
Success, I feel like I'm living success, and I feel like a lot of the people that I know who are true to their roots are living success. Success isn't a financial thing to me. It's not a social stature. Success is being happy with who you are and where you're at, and being able to bring other people to that mindset. Sometimes you just need to be okay with where you are, and I don't. I worry a little bit about the future. I think a little bit about the past, but you can get too tangled up in a lot of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Get yourself to a place where you're like, you know what, I'm cool with where I'm at right now. It might not be perfect, but it's not a complete shit show. I think if you're just kind of cool with where you're at, I think that's success.
I love
Nice.
that. That was a great
Nice.
answer. Listeners, we want to thank you for hanging out with us. This has been a long episode, but an awesome episode. I also need to thank Dave and Corey for hanging out, who have been here for almost 7 hours today.
No thanks to this asshole. Sorry, guys.
We've been busy the whole time, so nothing
Yeah.
about that. But almost 7 hours today, guys. This podcast is definitely a labor of love. These guys deserve a lot of props. But you listeners are the reason that we are here, and we thank you. With that, Corey, how do we send them out?
First, I want to say I would love to go to Canada and do something with the Farm Profit Podcast. So we're going to lean hard on Quick Dick McDick to find us maybe something we could team up with. That'd be pretty cool.
Agribition. Yeah.
Yep. Go up there, do that.
Agribitchin.
Agribitchin. Western Canadian.
Yeah.
Agribitchin. Been there. Won a buckle.
But
Nice.
I just want to say, crack a bush light. You deserve it.